Right. And so the class is entirely yours, and I'm here. The slides are there on the TV, and I can change it from here. So you just need to give me the prompt about where to change the slide or where to click the button.
Sure.
And then I'll go ahead. So thank you very much once more, and everything is yours now.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope everyone is doing well there. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Joutsenon Opisto College, if I'm not wrong in pronouncing the name of the college, and also Mr. Etedali for all the arrangements they have made in order to prepare this video lesson. And I should also thank you for your participation. This is, of course, an introductory lecture to semantics. Actually, I had to squeeze and arrange all of the core concepts into a one-session lecture. So if there are any comments or any questions left out, please feel free to email me at martin.foros@gmail.com. Now I'm ready if you want to start the lesson. But if you have something to add more, I remain silent for some seconds. No more than that, because I need my time.
Okay. Anything from your side? Nothing. Go ahead, please.
No. Okay, then. As you see in slide, the second slide is actually our outline, the topics we're going to cover. Do you see the same thing I'm seeing on my desktop?
Oh, wow.
From number 1 to number 7.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, then. So we're going to start with some kind of background knowledge you have from previous lessons you had regarding linguistics. Then we will talk about semantics, what we mean by semantics in general. After that, when we talk about semantics, we have to deal with meaning, because semantics is nothing but meaning. Then we were going to talk about the smaller parts of meaning. Does the meaning of a word have a smaller parts or have a smaller components? For sure, they are usually shown by plus minus features. They also help us to recognize which sentence is anomalous or odd. After that, we're going to talk about semantic roles, by which we mean agent, theme, instrument, experiencer, location, source, goal. And then we talk about lexical relations, because there is a very complicated network of meaning relationship between the words. For that matter, we have to talk about synonymy, antonymy, hyponymy. And then for hyponymy, we have a concept called prototype that is the most representative of any hypernym or any superordinate based on your book. After that, we will talk about homophones, homonyms, polysemy, metonymy, and finally, we will talk about collocation if we have enough time. I hope that we have time to cover all of them. Now we can move to the next slide. So it is a brief background information. I'm sure you know everything about linguistics by far, because you had some background knowledge. So linguistics is defined as the scientific study of human natural languages. As you see here, we have four key words. The first one is scientific. What do we mean by scientific? As you see, there is an S at the end of the word linguistics. This is the S of science, the same as physics, the same as semantics. So this S is the S of science. It means that in this field, we're going to go through 4 steps: observation, hypothesis formation, experimentation, and finally, theory formation. In other words, first we observe, then we form our hypothesis. After that, we get involved in experimentation. That is, we test our hypothesis, and if we come up with the same results again and again and again, we form our theory. This is what we do also in linguistics. Then the next term is human. It means that our main focus is on human language. Of course, there may be some comparison between human language and animal languages in order to show that language is probably a species specific. That's why a couple had an experiment with a chimpanzee, teaching him language. I don't know whether you know them or not, in order to show that either verifying Chomsky's idea that language is a species specific or nullifying it. But our main concern here is on human language rather than animal language. Then what do we mean by natural? By natural, we mean that it's not artificial. It's not a language like Esperanto. It has been evolved through the history quite naturally. So we're not talking about the other means of communication, like, for example, torchlight or other means. Here, the main focus again is on natural languages. Finally, we have the term language. Let me ask a question before talking about the definition of the word language. Is there anyone there who can tell me what is the definition of the word love? Oh, a strange word, isn't it?
It's not that much strange, but it's difficult to define.
That's the point. I need someone helping me in this regard. Can you please move the camera, or I don't know, the speaker, if you have anything. I need someone helping me in this regard, telling me what love is, because maybe I lack in my life. Maybe someone can help me.
Well, I can
yes,
try.
there is the Virpi
I can try.
willing to help.
It's a feeling.
Thank you.
It's a feeling, an abstract noun. You cannot touch it, you can feel it.
Okay, then it's just a kind of feeling like any other kinds of feelings. Am I right?
Yes.
So then what is the difference between love and other kinds of feelings?
They feel different.
Oh, sure, they feel different.
Yeah, and you
Actually,
feel them in different places.
Yes,
That's
you're right.
linguistics.
What you said is the description of the word love rather than the definition, but it is very good. Thank you so much. Any other person? Anyone else? No one? Have you ever experienced such a strange thing in your life so far?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for being so honest. Anyone else? Good, Mr. Etedali. So, is there anyone now who can tell me exactly the definition of the word love? No one? Okay, let me ask you a simpler question. Maybe love is difficult. What is the definition for the word kindness? Oh, come on, please. At least you know what kindness is, don't you?
We were talking about
there are lots of
representation
atrocities
yesterday.
around us in the world we're living right now. No one?
What was it? Representation of acts. that
Representation
come out
of acts.
Acts that come out of kindness.
Good. Again, we have another kind of description. Probably the reason that people prefer to remain silent there is that there is no definition for these words because they are abstract, they are not concrete, they are not tangible. We have the same problem with language. If Mr. Etedali clicks and lets us see what we have next, you would see that languages cannot be defined. Why? Because, first of all, language is an abstract thing. Language is not tangible. You cannot touch it, you cannot see it, you cannot hear it. Yes, you can hear language performance, but you cannot hear language itself. So language is something, if Mr. Etedali again clicks, is something subjective, isn't it? Do you see the word subjective?
Yes.
It means that, yes, it means that it's not an object. We cannot see it. We cannot see even the border of it. And again, if we click, I'm sorry for Mr. Etedali for asking too much clicking today. If we click, the next thing is that definition means limitation. Do you see that?
Yes.
I think Mr. Etedali did the job quicker. I mean, he showed everything on this slide probably. Okay, no problem. Definition means limitation because the word definition is probably derived from the Latin word in which we have do at the beginning, which is a kind of intensifier, like very, like to, and finir, which I do not know how to pronounce it in Latin. Maybe somebody helps me. If there is anyone there who knows Latin. It means limitation or to put limit on something, and ion is the noun maker or noun marker at the end. Therefore, definition by itself means limitation. Can we put in limit on language? Sure, no. No, because languages are developing. Some phrases, some sentences are deleted, some others are added. New words come, obsolete words are deleted, and it's like an alive creature which moves on the way it likes. So we cannot limit, and as a result, I cannot define it. I cannot define abstract thing as I told you. The reason I can define your table, your desk there, is that I can see the border, I can see the limitation of that thing, I can touch it, I can see it, so I can define it. Therefore, words like God, words like love, like language, kindness, they are abstract, they are subjective, and they carry no limitation, and as a result cannot be defined. Let's click and see what we have. The question is, then what should we do when we cannot define it? And you claim that linguistics is the scientific study of human natural languages. If I cannot define language, how can I study it? We say by describing it. Then the next question could be, which aspect of language should be described when we say it should be described? Does language have different aspects? Yes, it's like human being. We have an internal aspect of our soul and an external aspect of our flesh and body. Language is the same. We have competence, which is a subconscious or tacit knowledge, the knowledge we are not aware of it, that exists in the mind of every speaker of any particular language. Even the person who has not gone to any school, who has not learned grammar at all, who does not know what we mean by passive sentence, passive voice, active voice, who does not know anything about conditional sentences, who does not know what we mean by subject, object, verb, still that person is able to tell you whether your sentence is correct or not. That is, he has grammaticality judgment. Why? Because of the existence of competence, which is an internal faculty. Is it always with us? Yes, please.
Are we on slide 2 or we are still on slide 1?
It's still on slide 1.
Okay.
I will tell you. I will let you know.
All right.
Okay? Because these are the background knowledge. I didn't write everything there because I know they know something about linguistics. Okay? So it is competence. Now, what is performance? I think you know what is performance. That is performing the language, performing the competence, the daily use of language, reading, writing, speaking. Now, which aspect should be described? Based on what you see on the slide, competence should be described at least for 3 reasons. Of course, there are more reasons, but we can find 2 or 3 reasons here for the shortage of time. The first one is that competence is the knowledge without which there is no performance. Can you perform knowledge if there is no knowledge of language in your mind? No. You cannot speak, you cannot read, you cannot write. The second reason, competence is ideal. There is no mistake in competence. Competence is perfect. If you find any mistake in someone's speech, it is because of the performance. Like a Spoonerism. After Professor Spooner told his student that you hissed the sound of a snake. You hissed all my mystery lecture, by which he meant you missed all my history lecture. Spoonerism was considered as a kind of mistake we make in our languages, speaking especially. So, the person could be drunk, the person could be an addict, and as a result, for example, an addict may produce Z sound as J sound. They say, I went to zoo, and they mean, I went to zoo. So, the right sound, Z sound, exists in their mind, in their competence, but the reason that they are producing the wrong sound instead of Z, they produce J, is because of performance. Therefore, and another thing is that the competence is always with us, is constant. Even when we are sleeping, competence is with us. During the day, we may decide not to speak at all, but still competence is with us. Therefore, we say competence should be described. Now we have a little problem here. Can you guess the problem? If anyone can guess, I'm not there to give anything, any reward, unfortunately, but I'm sure Mr. Etidali will give a reward for being sharp in answering the questions.
I have cookies in my office.
Very good, I love it. So, can you guess why competence? We said the competence should be described for 3 reasons, but we have the problem here. Can you guess the problem? I give you a clue if you like. Do you like me to give you a clue? Thank you. The clue is that it is in the definition of the word competence. What was the definition of the word competence?
It's innate.
Very good. It is innate, and we said that it is subconscious, or as even some people claim it is unconscious. It is the tacit knowledge. So if it's a tacit knowledge, if it is innate, if it is unconscious, how are we going to describe it? We say by describing the rules of language. We can move to the next slide now. See what we mean by rules of language. We mean, number 1, rules of sounds, by which we mean phonology. Number 2, rules of word formation, by which we mean morphology. Rules of sentence formation, which is syntax. Rules of meaning, by which we mean semantics. And rules of use, by which we mean pragmatics, and then on and on. I'm not going to take your time more. Our focus here is on which number?
4.
Number 4, semantics. Let's see what we mean by semantics. This is an excerpt from an illustrative dictionary of Illots. If you want to learn more about the item, you can refer to the book. I just took a part of this item. Semantics here is defined as the study of meaning in language. What is meaning? What do we mean by meaning? Of course, this question is a dangerous question because it leads us to a vicious circle. If you say, what is the meaning of meaning, and I do not know the meaning of meaning, I may ask you what you mean by what is the meaning of meaning, and then you would ask what you mean by what is the meaning of meaning, and it continues. So we leave this question to philosophers because philosophers are in love with meaning, and we consider meaning as an entity in the outside world. Do you agree? Not to bother ourselves with philosophical issues? I think so. Okay, now look at the meaning of the word mean in the following sentences. Number 1, do you have it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what you mean. Don't worry, I will explain it if there is anything difficult here. Number 2, the word means what I choose it to mean. Humpty Dumpty in Alice in the Wonderland says that. Number 3, she is very mean. You can get divorced and marry another one. Number 4, there are means of success. Stick to it till you get to your aim, okay? You see, the meaning of the word, the meanings of the word mean here are different, one from another sentence. Is it due to a speaker's intention? Is it due to a speaker's will? For sure, for any sentence we say, there is an intention behind it, but we don't care about that intention. In semantics, what do we care? We move to the next slide to see what is our concern here. We say we are concerned with those aspects of meaning that are determined by the language itself. We take the word out of its context of use. We disregard the speaker's intention and context of use, and we focus on those aspects of meaning that are determined only and just by language itself. Then the question would be, in what kind of meaning we should look for those aspects determined by language? Do we have different aspects? Do we have different types of meaning? Yes, again, we have conceptual meaning and we have associated meaning. Do you see on the slide?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, let's move to the next slide then. Conceptual meaning. It is the literal, the direct, the conventional. Conventional means the meaning that everyone agrees upon. If I say window, everyone looks at the window, the glass is there. No one looks at the bookshelf, for example. Why? Because everyone here agrees what we mean by window. And it's also denotative or the dictionary meaning. This is the kind of meaning which covers the most basic essential components of meaning. What do we mean by most basic essential components? An example will clarify it. Needle. The most basic essential components of the word needle are: needle is sharp, needle is thin, needle is a steel. So when we put all these basic essential components of meaning together, we say needle is sharp, thin, a steel instrument. And this is exactly the dictionary meaning. This is exactly the literal, the direct, the denotative meaning. Now let's see what we mean by the second type of meaning. We should move to the next slide. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. We have an associative meaning here. Associative, a figure, the literary. There we have literal. Here we have literary. The indirect, non-conventional, connotative rather than denotative, and associated meaning, covering the extra meaning being associated with the word we are talking about by people. So when you say needle, some people may think about pain, some others illness. One person may think about blood, and there are some people who might think about drugs. But apart from that, some people may associate sewing or dressmaking with the word needle. So they may remember thread, they may remember knitting. These are all associated meaning because we are associating these things with the direct meaning. Now, our job in semantics is to focus on the first type of meaning, by which we mean what? We mean? You tell me. By which we mean?
Conceptual.
Thank you. Conceptual meaning, exactly. Let's move to the next slide. Here, we're going to talk about semantic features. But before talking about semantic features, because a part is finished, I would like you to ask your questions if you have any questions. If not, then we move to semantic features. Is there any question? No. Let's see what we mean by semantic features. In fact, the kind of linguistic we're talking about deals with describing the language. We are not Puritanist grammarian. We do not tell people how to say, how not to say, what they must not say, for example. We describe the way the people are using language, the way they speak. But in order to describe language, any level of language we're talking about should be broken down into a smaller parts. For example, we don't say pet sound is simply pet sound. Of course, I'm adding a in order to be able to pronounce it. Otherwise, pe cannot be produced. We would say that pe is, can you tell me? Bilabial, voiceless, stop. That is, we describe all the parts involved in the production of pe sound. We say both lips are involved. Vocal cords do not vibrate at all. There is a complete blockage of the airstream at the beginning and a sudden release of the airstream. Then we describe what we mean by pe. And then for describing pe sound, we say the only difference is that pe is voiced sound. Now, when you were talking about syntax, because it seems to me that you covered the topic syntax, am I right?
Yeah.
Did you talk about syntax?
And grammar, yes.
Okay, good. So in syntax,